What's up, peers, and welcome back here to the World Crypto Network with a call-in show. So feel free to call in, link in the description, link in the chat. It's the Hangout link, so jump in directly here with us today, talking about Bitcoin and Lightning Network. I'm not alone already. We have a guest joining in. We have Nico from Consensus Network. What's up?
Hey, Max. Thanks for the invitation. Always psyched to be here. I'm also eager to answer any questions that the audience might have, so don't be shy. Come and chat with us. We're all here to learn.
Oh, yes, exactly. And a bunch of things to learn, because a lot of things are happening here in Bitcoin and Lightning Network. And it's exciting times, and we got a lot of things to discuss and to explore. The rabbit hole is never ending. So let's see where this goes. Peers, be active in the chat, ask the questions, and as I said, call into the show, ask your questions here live, state your opinions, and explore where we can find the hidden things here in this rabbit hole and where it might lead. Here, new studio, new setup. Got my little altar, of course, with the greatest Austrian economists all here in one poster. That's perfect. And my good friend, Murray Rothbard, right here next to his silver coin. And of course, the noddle. So that's another very important thing. Bitcoin full node financial self-sovereignty in a box, a black box with stickers. Always nice to have these little artifacts here in the background. And of course, the hammock. Also, don't forget that. Finally, sleeping back in a hammock. So much joyful, so much better. So, Nico, you are currently all over the place. Where are you at, and how are your experiences?
Well, I'm in China at the moment, so that's one reason why I can't see my face, because I've been also upgrading my OpSec lately. My laptop doesn't have a camera anymore, and because I'm in China, I've been struggling for like past couple weeks, like really hard to be able to access the internet, like just the bare minimum basics that, well, we all take granted in a little bit less restricted environments. So definitely a lot to learn here now. I'm pretty confident with my VPN and Tor skills and circumventing all kinds of systems, because let me tell you, they are getting better and more strict year by year. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut my broadcast at some point. Hopefully not.
Oh yes, always a good reminder to step up the OpSec game. I mean, I have the Purism laptop here right in front of me. Works perfectly fine, and it has the kill switch. Right? It has the kill switch to plug the cable out of the microphone, camera, and Wi-Fi and everything, which is cool, which is awesome. That's good OpSec. But you just decide, no, fuck that. We go all the way here, and just no camera at all. So that is unhackable, which is always nice to know.
You know what else? I actually gave up my smartphone entirely. I don't have a phone, so life has been difficult to manage all those like credentials and two-factor authentication, and it's been a kind of a nightmare, but also liberating at the same time, because now I feel like I have much more time for things that matter to me. I caught up on my reading, and I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. Actually, I got a Kindle for the first time in my life. And it's really, really cool because you don't get all those annoying messages, somebody bothering you on Telegram or whatever all the time. And yeah, I highly recommend to step up your OpSec game. You can always do better, and we should always do better.
Oh yes, absolutely. OpSec, always nice to improve, always nice to step up. Because, it's self-defense, and that is a fundamental trait of Bitcoin, of course. So, of course, run your own full node. That is financial self-defense. But also make sure that you encrypt your backups and you encrypt your communication and your storage. Right, use VPNs, communicate over Tor. It just makes sense. And in Bitcoin, that further extends to stuff like the Wasabi wallet. So I would say let's jump in right here with the sharing of the screen. And we have here a couple news. The Wasabi wallet has been upgraded. Here that Nopal released, little nonchalant. From now on, Wasabi can mix large amounts faster by mixing on the change. Big thanks, big thank you for everyone who contributes to research to reach this milestone. And this is kind of a phenomenal and huge feature because this allows for several outputs being created in one single Wasabi CoinJoin round. So with every single Wasabi transaction now, there you can either generate a 0.1 Bitcoin UTXO output, 0.2 Bitcoin, 0.4, 0.8, 0, or 1.6, 3.2, and it's a exponential scale here. And this means that if you have a let's say 20 Bitcoin output, you can get a lot of anonymity set for that entire stack without having to end up with several really, really small UTXOs. Of course, the amount of anonymity that you will get for each of these UTXO amounts will depend on the overall liquidity, but at least it is now much more easily possible to combine and matchmake here on the Wasabi Wallet CoinJoin platform. So check it out. It's a huge milestone, and as we said, the tools for financial security, and that again, Wasabi is a weapon for self-defense. To make sure that no one is spying on you, which is quite a worthy thing to defend yourself from.
Yes, and also make Bitcoin fungible again.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I'd further then like to point you all to the video here, the phenomenal video by 402 Payment Required, who has now his 5th video on the Wasabi wallet. I promoted him on the Wasabi Dojo to white belt. So he's now officially honored in the Wasabi Dojo. And he now has some cool animations on what coin joins are exactly and why they work and why they are so simple, actually, and therefore very powerful. So coin joins very much worth looking into. However, I would like to advocate that this video is already out of date with this new update. So clearly, Adam is he is coding so fast, that son of a bitch, faster than we can talk about his amazing software. So yes, quite reckless, but definitely worth checking out the Wasabi wallet. Nico, have you looked into this at all?
Oh, you mean Wasabi wallet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It's my, I would say, main wallet that I use the most at this point. I like how it's so simple and it's quite intuitive, I would say, if you compare it to many other solutions on the market. And also it provides a function like no other, which is the fungibility and the privacy aspect. So you can actually anonymize your Bitcoins. Like, for example, I'm also a user of Bisq, decentralized exchange. So you kind of never know where your coins have been when you purchase some coins from there. So definitely a good idea to run them through the Wasabi wallet treatment, get your anonymity set up to like 50 or something, and then you can rest assured that your coins are well, and as secure as, to my knowledge, they can be at this point, at least with very, very little effort. Like I said, it's quite easy to use. I mean, of course, there's plenty of good videos. Like you've made a couple of really good videos that I watched to help me get started. But even without those videos, I think people will be able to get the hang of it real quickly. And I really like the user interface. It's quite sleek and nice. I definitely highly recommend to everybody.
Oh yes, the user interface of Wasabi is truly really, really amazing. It is slick, it is super user friendly, and already Wasabi has made over 4,600 Bitcoin fungible, which is quite astonishing. So this is quite well tested technology so far. And here we see one of these most recent coin joins. And just to dive in a little bit deeper, what this unequal input mixing actually means and why this is such a cool new innovation. Here we see the outputs that are, or the inputs that are all different of denomination, and each are unique, right? And each, of course, then can be linked in a chain of digital signatures, which is UTXO represents. But the output side starts here with 0.0998 or 0.01 Bitcoin, right? That is the smallest denomination that is being coin joined, where several different unique UTXOs, but of the exact same value are being created. And there are a bunch of them, as you can see here, at least 20 or so. And we need to even further load more. So many more equal 0.1 Bitcoin outputs are being generated here. But then there are also some 0.1996, so 0.2 UTXOs being generated, not as many. So this anonymity set here is 6. And then there's also some 0.399 or 0.4 Bitcoin being created. And here with an anonymity set of 5. And then also some, again, smaller change output. That is also just being generated with output with anonymity sets of 2 or 3. So now with one huge transaction, we can generate several different denominations to generate even larger here, 0.8 Bitcoin. That's quite a couple Satoshis with one transaction are now equal, which is really cool and just helps in fungibility and throughput and efficiency quite a lot. So major change here to Wasabi and quite fantastic. Okay, and then just as a reminder, if you want to call in, link in the description, link in the chat. And we also have here further Rene Picard. He has here his phenomenal little last week of Lightning, week 2 of January. Really worth going through here. A bunch of fantastic stuff of what has happened here in Lightning. And that continues with this little tweet here from Alex Brosworth. Who says there's so many cool features coming in Lightning, especially LND. And it is true, Lightning is, it's going crazy. It really is. We have here new things coming. Sphinx send unilateral push payments draft, which is here. Sphinx is the onion routing encryption for the Lightning payments. So this is heavily tied into the privacy aspects. Here, many updates coming. We have atomic multipath payments in all its glorious variants with Link, Base, OG, Real atomic multipath payments. Basically splitting up one Lightning payment over several payment channels, which is quite useful. And it allows you again to increase the capacity and throughput of Lightning. And we have some elliptical curve digital signature algorithms for co-op closes to Stein chain analysis. So cooperative closes are nice. We want to be agile in our liquidity management of our payment channels and increasing our privacy in a cooperative way, maybe packing a coin join in the opening and closing of these payment channels. Quite some interesting things here happening in Lightning. So, Nico, what are your general thoughts on the advancement here in Lightning in the last couple months and weeks?
Yeah, it's I can't keep up. I'm still working on my Lightning node. I mean, I've been building my own for a month now, and I don't really have the time. And I feel like now it's like all the gear I got for it, it's already outdated. I need to upgrade my node all the time. And to be honest, I haven't made even a single Lightning payment yet. And that's also why I tweeted about the there's this shop that is selling these physical Bitcoins. They also started accepting the Lightning payment, and apparently there's 0 Lightning transactions for them so far. They're called Denarium. Maybe you can find the link there, or I can drop it in the chat as well. But yeah, I think it's still not that widely used, but I think it maybe it's getting a little bit less and less reckless, so people are more inclined to try it, and I'm certainly planning to do so in the very near future. But unfortunately, I don't have much experience on that, so I can't really comment on how does it work. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on that.
Oh yes, so there again, there's so many changes here to cover, and it is quite tricky to run your own full node, right? That's something that is not necessarily easy and intuitive, but we are working on that, right? We're improving it step by step. I would say that these plug-and-play nodes, like the Nodl, are a fantastic tool for that. They are extremely easy to set up. Of course, you need, well, it is dedicated hardware, so it's not easy to travel with, or I mean, relatively, I run it on a bus to Leipzig, so that was quite nice. You can be quite mobile with these things, and then for if you just have your regular laptop, maybe running Windows, especially, then Pierre Rochard's Node Launcher is a super easy graphical user interface, only no command line setup for the Lightning Network node, which is also quite useful. So yeah, many different ways of starting to get into this and trying to test it out. And for mobile, the Eclair wallet. It's a send-only wallet, but it allows you to easily make Lightning Network payments losing funds, and you do not actually have to run a full Bitcoin node and a full Lightning node in that manner. You're not routing payments, you're just sending payments. It's a one-way payment channel, so to say, or at least used as such. And that is also quite easy, quite intuitive. And here, as Alex says, with all these fancy changes that are coming here, quite nice to see how Lightning is evolving.
Yeah, I saw the tweet when you were using the Nodl in the bus. I thought that was awesome because, you know, I used to be I'm still kind of a gear enthusiast, and I like to tinker with things. I used to, for example, play the PS1 back in the day in a bus as well with batteries and stuff. So that's also like I'm living the digital nomad lifestyle. So it's a little bit tricky for me to set up. I don't really have a solid base that I could trust the electricity and the network works all the time. So I can't really leave it just running. So I need something mobile. So I've been trying to build something on the Raspberry Pi with a touchscreen and a battery backup with a waterproof case. And that's basically what I'm working on now. And at least I could use it to send payments on the road and probably not for routing, but then of course whenever I would stay at some place a little bit longer, then I could just plug it in and leave it, I guess, and route some payments. That's my plan anyway. But I'm afraid the Raspberry Pi 2 that I have is vastly underpowered, so I might need to look for a replacement, maybe something like similar to what the Nodl is running.
Oh yes, the Nodl quite interesting, but of course also other nodes are possible. It's Lightning that's amazing. It's Bitcoin that's amazing, and not necessarily the hardware where we run it on, but the Nodl just super intuitive. And also a really cool news here from Jack Mallers, who is working on a Zap point of sale system, and we have here this little. Just little clip on how it works here. You can have different beers, have different shots, different cocktails for the bartender on the iPhone, on the iPad, right? You can set the amount. You can put it all together, have a little shopping cart here, and then ultimately charge. Add a tip if you like. To give a little tip to the bartender specifically, 20% here in this case, and you ultimately get the Lightning invoice, and then the customer can pay easy on the iPhone of any bartender, of any barista. With a beautiful user interface. And the cool thing is everything here is running on your own Lightning node, your own LND node that you can host on your own hardware. So this works, of course, with your node running on your laptop or a main station, or especially it is running perfectly well with the Nodl. SAP integration to Nodl is amazing. As a matter of fact, I believe that Jack's presentation here that he is doing in Chicago, here showcasing the Lightning and Zap and BTC Pay is, and here his bar event is being run all by the Nodl hardware. So this is the plug-and-play hardware that is run by every bar and restaurant here in this amazing event that he's organizing up there in Chicago. So quite amazing to see how intuitive the Lightning user interface can be. And again, Nico, you unfortunately probably don't have iPhone anymore. So no SAP user interface for you. But what do you think about the increase of usability of this new payment system?
Yeah, of course. That's in terms of adaption. That is key. People are using these devices, and it would be good to have compatibility. Like you said, I don't have an iPhone anymore. I sold it, and I'm happy that I did it because it did free up a lot of my time. It is like a burden, and I do think that the smartphone was maybe not an improvement on our life. But like I said, adoption. If we want people to actually start adopting this technology and this new money, yeah, I think we need to make some compromises there. And I realized that extreme OpSec is definitely not for everybody. It's not even for the sweatiest nerds among us. Certainly, it has been hard even for me, and I'm not even that nerdy. But to expect the regular everyday people to actually start using, for example, just something as simple as a Linux computer and compiling this wallet software from the source or anything like that, that's like absolutely out of the question. So definitely we do need these, and that's like when I'm talking in the Telegram with the so-called normal and regular people. Normally the topic is always about, what about the usability, what about the merchant adoption, what about, replacing Visa and blah blah blah, this kind of thing. And I guess that will be the way to get some more people into the scene, and then teach them what it's actually about. It is not about necessarily about the transaction speed or beating PayPal or Visa. It's about the sovereign money. But of course, sovereign money is also evolving and getting better every day. So I think overall it's good, but it's also important to educate people about the security and the risks that come with these devices, because these handheld devices, I call them like the spying devices. You're basically having a camera and microphone on you all the time with GPS. So that's definitely something that I want everybody to consider. What kind of information do you want to divulge about yourself?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And we have here in the chat Mike Bundy saying that the Blue Wallet or which is also an iOS is nice, even if the Lightning part is custodial. And that is also a very, very good point here. If we look into the Blue Wallet IO, which is a custodial Lightning Network wallet. So you can receive and send Lightning Network funds with a super easy setup. And it's a really, really beautiful user interface. Again, super fluent, super colorful. Would be nice if they have a black mode, a dark mode. Now with integrated lab browser, as you can see where you can actually spend the Lightning Network payments. Hopefully that list gets full soon. For example, I also use the OpenNode, which is also a custodial Lightning Network payment processor, where, for example, I get the processors here for the Lightning Network Tallycoin funds. So if you decide here to buy early access for example, the Bitcoin to the Max shows, then this processing here over the Lightning Network gets done by OpenNode. Yes, it is custodial, but it might make a bit more sense than custodial wallets in Bitcoin, because receiving Lightning Network payments is not as simple as receiving Bitcoin payments. With Bitcoin payments, you only need to have an offline private key, and that's pretty much it. All the other data storage and management is done by full nodes, and you don't necessarily have to run one of these either, right? You can go with SPVs, yes, not optimal. But to receive Lightning Network payments trustlessly and securely, you really need to be running your own Bitcoin full node. And you need to be online 24/7, pretty much. And these are some hurdles that you need to overcome. And then further, you need to have inbound liquidity. So you have peers need to open payment channels directly to your own full node. And only when they do that can you start receiving Lightning Network payments, not just from the peers that are connecting to you, but also from the peers that are connected to these peers of you. So you need to be attracting good, high quality routing nodes that are well connected in the network. And that is not easy, especially now because we do not yet have autopilot that is working in a somewhat functioning way. So having a quote unquote professional manage the state and the liquidity and the balancing of your payment channels might be quite interesting in Lightning Network compared to on-chain Bitcoin transactions. Nico, what are your thoughts on custodial Lightning Network wallets?
Well, every time you say custodial, I will immediately get a little bit suspicious. But again, people don't want to take full responsibility of their money. People don't want to take full responsibility of their nodes. They don't want to go through that extra trouble. And while I do think that the convenience is the death of security, again, it will be vital to just to introduce new people into the scene. I don't know if it's vital, but at least it will speed things up. So if we don't want to wait for like another 5 years for mass adoption, then maybe these are the way to go. And certainly it's nice to see that people are trying new things. And these custodial services, I've been saying for a long time, it's kind of like what banks are supposed to do, like remove the fractional reserve fiat crap from the banking system, and you will have these, you could have these wonderful custodial banker services and loan services that actually provide value for people without destroying the value. And of course, at the moment, our data is vastly monetized by big corporations. We have big data, and that's definitely not, all of it is not used for our benefit. So where do you draw the line? That's the tricky part. So again, everybody needs to make that decision for themselves, of course, and just try to stay as safe as possible, and maybe start off with the small amounts, and then always remember to keep your savings in a cold storage and not a custodial service. At least that would be my advice. But of course, some people rather trust a third party than themselves, which is a little bit beyond me.
Oh, yes, I agree. I think there are different levels that you can be involved in here, right? Of course, you should have most of your hodlings in deep cold storage. Maybe slap a multi-signature on there. Maybe some time logs, right? Some people just have a 10-year time log on some of their stash, which might be a bit stupid, but it is possible, going this deep cold storage and doing like Glacier protocol style. But you don't do that for all your funds, right? You have some on a regular single signature hardware wallet that is still rather good security, but rather easy convenience of use. And then you also have some on your phone as a spending wallet. But again, here for the Lightning Network, you need to have the keys need to be online, especially for routing payments and also for receiving payments, right? There need to be secrets being transmitted, and you need to be online sending and receiving and working with these secrets. So this is quite tricky to have secure Lightning Network nodes that are publicly known with their IP address if you're not doing it over Tor. So there are also some security things here involved. You need to have good OpSec again, and be sure that these keys are handled securely. Now there is Stefan working on a fantastic Lightning Network hardware wallet. He's going to come on the WCN again shortly. We talked to him in Prague before, and he's working on a Lightning Network hardware wallet, which is fantastic. But yeah, Lightning Network is much more complicated than receiving Bitcoin for everyday starters. So having this here as an option is beautiful. And I saw this with the setup of the Tallycoin website. It's super easy. with OpenNode. Literally, you sign up via email. So no private keys, no secrets involved whatsoever, other than, of course, your regular password. But then I would also really like to connect my interface here via BTC Pay or via some macaroons or via some other JRPC calls to my own locally hosted full node. Because again, then I have the full control over my finances, which is why I'm in this. But I like to have both opportunities here to evolve where things go.
Yeah, one good way to think about it is like, how much money would you keep in your leather wallet in your pocket? You know, you can of course keep some small sums in any kind of solution, as long as you are aware of the trade-offs that you are making. And what strikes me, what worries me the most is that people are not aware of the trade-offs they are making. For example, when they're storing their funds on an exchange, like for example, I just read a news, I think it was Cryptopia, probably one of those exchanges, lost some money due to a hack. And it's just a matter of time before that happens to all of those custodial or exchange services, because it's a game, it's a numbers game. And once the sums become big enough, it will just become obvious to do the exit scam or get quote unquote hacked. And I just feel like it's a disaster waiting to happen. So just be very aware of the trade-off you're making with your funds and the security. And just like you said, Max, there's many different ways that you can secure and protect your money, even from yourself. That is something that also many people disregard, to protect your funds from yourself. Like brain wallets, for example, is always a bad idea for long-term storage. You don't know what's going to happen to you. And also, you know, there's something like plausible deniability, for example. Nowadays, many countries are more interested and aware of these hardware devices like treasures and stuff. They might require you to open it on the border when you're crossing, to see how much money you have, and then of course tax you. So you might need to have decoy wallets, for example, like Trezor has this, and I do believe Ledger also has this, and they open, hold on, a ColdCard, excuse me, and the guys who made the CoinKite, who make the OpenDime wallet, also awesome company. Anyway, you can have this 25th word on top of the seed, which is normally 24 words. So that basically you can have hundreds of different wallets as long as you remember those passwords, and then you can just open a decoy wallet to satisfy the robbers or the tax officials' needs. Well, I guess that's the same thing, really.
Oh yes, the ColdCard Wallet is fantastic. And again, that all ties in with OpSec, right? Make sure that your private keys are generated securely offline, and that they never really touch a online hardware, and that the communication between the cold storage device and the hot computer where you broadcast the transaction is done very carefully. Partially signed Bitcoin transaction is a huge deal. Rodolfo fought for this here, and it was included in version 0.17 of Bitcoin Core. And partially signed transaction is phenomenal, both used by a ColdCard only, and Electrum has it implemented, I think, already. Wasabi Wallet is working with partially signed Bitcoin transactions as well, I believe. And it's quite fantastic to see these more secure standards being developed. So yeah, ColdCard all the way. Get yourself one. It is quite amazing. And again, the videos here by 402 payment required are fantastic, also on the ColdCard wallet. So yeah. Maybe to go, sorry, go ahead, Nico.
Yeah, I was just going to add that what I like about ColdCard is that it's actually open source. So that's you can even run your own. You can even code and run your own software on it if you want.
Oh yes, that's the beauty of ColdCard as well. It is 100% open source, which is quite awesome. So yeah, open source everything, right? And just in that light, I also had a great conversation here with Juan Galt a couple days ago, and he released this video now where we talked about the nodal and why this is so interesting, and especially just Bitcoin and the Lightning Network in general, and why full node in this little shiny box with a growing list of awesome Bitcoin toys built in. Yeah, we just talked about why the nodal is so interesting and why running your own full node is so important. And of course, the features that are possible with the nodal specifically when you choose to get this hardware, which is a regular Rock 64 board, so no magic there involved. But it is a nice, decent chip. And of course, running Bitcoin desyncing the blockchain in almost 24 hours, might be a bit longer. But then also installing LND, which you can connect to your SAP wallet, or which I'm especially a fan of, the Lightning interface, which is also a web-based interface, which has all the nitty-gritty details that you would love for anyone who is interested into really getting to know and understand the subject matter. But of course, there's also BTC Pay server running on here. So you can host your own website, your own shop, like the Lightning or like the Nodal shop is hosted on the Nodal itself. Yeah, it was quite a cool conversation here with Juan Galt from Bitcoin Magazine previously, and now the Open Sovereignty podcast network. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many things that I need to take care of and get educated on. I'm working on literally like 10 projects at the same time, and it's a little bit frustrating because I feel like I'm getting left behind on all of those, and I'm not going forward, even though I'm working every day, like all day. But yeah, it's difficult to stay up to date even without a day job or studying. And I understand you're still studying, Max, right? Are you almost done with your so-called day job?
Oh yes, I am currently at university and sitting like a good little schoolboy in class every day to accumulate this information being presented by the lecturer. So yeah, quite interesting, balancing here the very hierarchical and predetermined schedule of a state university with the totally chaotic and nonstop, intense Bitcoin rabbit hole which we find ourselves in. It's quite an interesting comparison. So I'm enjoying that, and I'm currently have about half a year to go. So in September I'll be done with university. For now. And let's see where the journey leads afterwards in Bitcoin land.
I can't imagine that, but you've been doing quite a heavy lifting there. Like, I don't understand how you can have so much time to do all these shows and educate people and then educate yourself as well. And I couldn't imagine going back to school like after being woke by Bitcoin. So that's really interesting that you can still do that. And kudos for you for doing that, of course.
And it is quite interesting, right? Because they are fundamentally completely different concepts. And when you are once hooked by something on such a fundamental basis, how Bitcoin is known to hook you, then well, what can compete with that? So it kind of grabs a lot of your attention, right? Bitcoin is a jealous woman, and it likes your full attention. So it's quite interesting to combine all that with the everyday rest of the life, which of course also goes on. I mean, money is important, but it's not that important after all. But Nico, you seem to be doing fine with that as well, with all the projects that you have going on, and still enjoying the travels and contemplations of the countryside.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's more like a prerequisite for life to travel, to be able to travel. Like I suffocate. I get suffocated in just half a year if I stay put too long. The longest I think ever lived in a single place was a year, maybe not even full year. Like all my life, ever since I was a kid, I've been just moving from one place to another. It's just kind of like, is it a shark that can't stop swimming and they will just suffocate? So I feel that way if I stay too long in one place. And you do learn so much, not just about those places that you go, but about yourself. How like you reflect yourself through other people, how other people conduct themselves, and then you can reflect on yourself and what you've seen and what you've learned. And yeah, I get inspired a lot, and a lot of the projects that I work on don't ever go anywhere. I get like maybe 10 ideas every day. But at the moment, what I'm most excited about is I'm building the consensus network, which started from the Finnish Cryptocurrency Association consensus that I started as the chairman about a year ago. And now I'm stepping down because I don't live in Finland anymore. And it's been great being able to network and to help people and to get these new shows started. And what I'm doing with the consensus network now is I want it to be this global kind of like infotainment channel that hopefully at some point would have daily content, maybe even 24/7 content from all around the world, kind of like what the World Crypto Network is doing. And we do a lot of collaboration together, especially with you, Max, which I appreciate greatly. And I've also been talking to Saifedian, who wrote the Bitcoin Standard book, about translating that into Finnish. So I'm thinking like Consensus Network might be the publisher of that book in Finnish and some other books as well. I'm working on my own web shop, which is going to be called the Honeybadger shop. It's not online yet. It's going to be like a Bitcoin maximalist toy shop pretty much, and probably some books there as well. Not entirely sure how that's going to play out yet, but those are like the two main projects that I'm mostly interested and excited about now. And then there's of course there's NX Solar, which is the solar power project that you've been part of as well. And that's going to be like, I had this idea of utilizing the Lightning Network actually for the nodes. So I'm not going to go much into detail on NX Solar. You can just check it, nx.solar, if you want. We have a new website up. Basically what it is solar power investing platform for Bitcoin and self-sovereignty, not only in money but also in energy. So you would have panels on your roof, or you could own somebody else's panels on their existing building. And then if you would have an actual Lightning node, Bitcoin node there, and you would have miners to actually run with the excess energy, and then you could transfer energy in form of Bitcoin between those nodes if those were like Lightning nodes. So that's like the latest idea I had on that. And actually we just had an investor meeting a couple of days back, which was kind of promising that we might actually get some funding for the pilot projects in Europe. So that's hopefully going to happen this year. Not so sure about that, but yeah, definitely all kinds of exciting things happening. And yeah, we're always looking for new projects and collaborators. And yeah, more about the Consensus Network. Like if anybody here who is watching this now is interested in starting their own show, just contact any of us. Basically, we will definitely hook you up. Maybe not start with your own show right away, but you can just come as a guest, or you can do pre-records. We do those as well. I was actually looking for the channel link here, which I can't find, but I'll show it later. Yeah, that's enough shilling about my projects. I'll shut up for a while.
No, but very interesting, and absolutely the Consensus Network is quite a lovely little organization here. And of course, I also like the Honeybadger shop, which let's switch into dark mode. Oh, much better. And this is quite a nice little shop with a couple of cool Bitcoin shirts and 99 shitcoins, but Bitcoin ain't one, which is nice. And I personally have here the Bitcoin Honeybadger, which is a really nice little shirt. And cool shop, but of course what is heavily missing here are the payment options. Here still PayPal and Visa and all the naughty stuff. So we are currently thinking on how to run this shop here on BTC Pay server, self-hosted on the Nodl itself. So quite interested to see how this might go. and where we can use the nodal to actually host your own store for selling stickers and whatnot. But we're also joined by Merch from Bitco. For Bitco, what's up, Merch? How are you doing?
Howdy. How are you? I'm fine.
Well, Merch, we met at the Chaos Communication Congress in Prague and in Leipzig, and it was quite nice to chat with you there about all the cool things happening here in Bitcoin. And of course, the peers from the World Crypto Network know you thanks to your awesome contributions to the Bitcoin Stack Exchange, which is weekly, of course, and daily featured on the World Crypto Network with the reading here. So you're the king of Bitcoin Stack Exchange, so to say. So first of all,
well. I do contribute, yes, but there's no kings there.
Well, but you definitely have helped me a lot with all these questions that you have answered, and there are so many cool and interesting things going on with Lightning Network. And you specifically have looked into the child pays for parent method for bumping up the transaction fee of a potential closing transaction. So could you maybe go a bit into why this is a interesting problem here for the Lightning Network?
Well, for the Lightning Network specifically, the problem is that currently closing transactions need to pay the fee rate that they want to have on their closing transactions at the time of creating the commitment transaction. So whenever they update the channel balances, for example, by routing another payment or paying one of the two participants in the channel, they would be creating a fee, or sorry, would be creating a transaction that closes the channel, and the fee is set at that time. So obviously the problem is that you don't know how much the fee rates will be at the time when you actually want to close this channel, because you can't predict whether the channel will be used until then. And well, for example, last year in December, we saw fees go beyond 1,000 Satoshis per byte. So it's really difficult to predict that sort of increase, and you don't want to have it on every closing transaction, because for the most part, you would be completely overpaying. So one method that you could have here is to just bump the have the closing transaction hit the network, and then in the case that it is underpaying for the current mempool composition, you would spend the output of the closing transaction with a second transaction that has a very, very juicy fee. And then when miners build block templates, they would see this transaction with a very high fee, but notice that they would have to include the closing transaction in order to make this transaction with the juicy fee valid, the child transaction. The child transaction can only be included in the block after the parent transaction has been. So child pays for parent in order to get the parent moving, right?
So very, very good example here on how we can remove the uneasiness of not knowing which fee we should pay for the closing transaction. Here, child pays for parent is quite interesting to work kind of as a fee bumping. So you pay a really low fee for your commitment transactions and your closing transactions. But then when it comes to a case where you do want to close the payment channel, which is in the future, right? So you cannot do that with the current revoked transaction. And then you bump the entire low fee transaction with a second spending transaction of the closing output, where you can increase the fee. And with the method that then both the child and the parent in total have a higher fee, then both transactions are being included, although the parent transaction has a really low fee. So that's quite an interesting mechanism that has some really cool and unique things to explore, and not just how it works with Lightning Network, but for other use cases as well.
Yeah, for example, generally, when people have a stuck transaction, most entities in the space appear to be tracking the progress of those transactions by transaction ID. And that's really one of the blockers for adoption of replace by fee, which would be another mechanism to unstuck transactions with low fees. And you'd so child pays for parent has the big advantage over replace by fee that it does not change the parent transaction. So whoever is tracking the parent transaction can continue to do so, and it will just confirm as it was originally sent, whereas replace by fee would replace it and thus increase the fee. So really it is, for example, for BitGo, the way to unstuck transactions, because we make commitments about transactions confirming the way that we originally signed them. So we will probably not be looking into RBF very soon. You're still here?
Oh, yes. And here again, because child pays for parent is rather easy to integrate compared to replace by fee in a existing stack, such as you have with BitGo, that is just one of the cool reasons why child pays for parent is so interesting. And I'm curious to read what you come up with here in the next couple posts that you'll write on Medium about all this and the enlightening Stack Exchange Q&As.
Well, if you have more questions about that, please do ask them on Stack Exchange. We'll answer them there. I'll have to see when I get around to finishing my blog post. Sorry.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Always 2 weeks, yes.
Well, one further thing that I would also like to kind of introduce here now officially on the WCN as well is my bachelor thesis, which I'll be working on for the next couple months. Really in general about how to do Lightning Network payments with a multi-signature in whatever shape or form that would be possible. So kind of exploring here all these possibilities of where this might lead. Why is multi-signature so important and so interesting? Well, I would say it is the coolest smart contract that we have so far here. Because it allows to share the access and the control of money. And that is a really cool use case, especially because it works in a trustless fashion, right? The protocol, the script, the Bitcoin mechanism, where it makes the verification and make sure that these rules, the smart contract, well, it's rather dumb actually, works exactly as it is intended to. And you can use this, for example, for security reasons, right? That you have, for example, BitGo, the company merge that you're working with, that you have one key with BitGo as a, so to say, second factor, and then one key with the hardware wallet of one of your customers, and then a third key, which is in cold storage with the customer somewhere. And you only need 2 out of 3 of these keys in the really easy multi-sig Bitcoin script. And that greatly improves security and the ease of having a security audit as a second factor here with specialists like BitGo. Merge, maybe could you elaborate a bit more on the use cases for multi-sig in Bitcoin in general?
Well, you already mentioned our solution. All of our coins that we offer are in 2 of 3 multi-sig wallets, where, as you described, we have a signing oracle that checks that the wallet behavior is in line with the policies that the customer has set up. So, for example, if a customer set up that they don't want to send more than 10 Bitcoins per hour, we would stop signing after they send 10 Bitcoins in that hour and would require an admin verification that they actually want to send more, like a explicit sign off on additional transactions in that time frame. So you can set up a tighter framework on the funds in your wallet in order to make them safer. Another use case, for example, would be escrow services. There have been a long time speculation about 2 or 3 multi-sig in use of escrow, where one key would be held by the seller, one key would be held by the buyer, and one key would be held by the escrow service. And then as long as the buyer and seller are happy with each other and they just both sign off on the transaction, the goods can be transferred and the payment can be transferred. But if one of the two parties is in disagreement with the other, buyer and seller cannot agree, then the escrow can arbitrate and take like a maybe 5% fee or whatever for the arbitration service, and then sign off on the funds going to the corresponding party in line with the contract that they had set up in the beginning. So this is another use of 2 of 3 multi-sig that makes it fairly easy to implement something that requires a lot more movement of money in the real world.
Very interesting. Nico, how have you used multi-sig so far, and what is your experience with that?
Well, I haven't really used multi-sig a lot. There's like a couple projects that we've used as the project funds to provide some like decentralized fund management, but mostly that hasn't been unnecessary because there has always been trust involved within the people, because I only work with people that I already trust. So it hasn't really been immensely useful for me, to be honest. So I don't have a whole lot of experience on that. But if you don't mind, I'll answer a question from the chat.
Go ahead.
Lauren was asking about the digital nomad lifestyle and how to become one. So I just thought I'll just give real quick tips on that, because I think that's something that is quite beneficial for everybody to try. And the key here is of course the resource, the money that you need. That a lot of people think is super expensive to keep up this kind of lifestyle. Actually, it's cheaper than, for example, living in many places. Like, for example, in Finland, in Helsinki, it's like one of the most expensive places to live. It's much cheaper to cut down your expenses and live on the low. And yeah, I think that's the key for any kind of happy and easy living. Cut down your expenses, and then you will feel much more free. And I would say that's like the number one thing that you need to do. If you want to be a digital nomad, the work you will always find. There will always be a way to provide value for people. If you know what you're good at, like try to find things that are trivial for you to do. Like, for example, computer stuff for a lot of us in the scene are very trivial and or nearly impossible for some other people to do, many people to do. So you can easily monetize those skills, and then you can just live a very low key life. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Pack light. Don't pack anything over 32 liters. At least that's what I do normally, including my electronics. So then that means that you can easily put the bag in the carry-on. You don't have to worry too much, and you can also walk with that like 15-20 kilometers, no problem. So those are the quick tips. And then you can get back to the Bitcoin stuff, which you know more about.
I can definitely also say that living expenses can be very different around the world. I moved recently to the Silicon Valley, like 1.5 years ago, and my rent is now quintupled from what I was paying in Germany before. So yeah, definitely.
Holy shit, that's a lot.
Oh yes, well, inflation. That's what it feels like. Coming to a town near you very soon.
Well, and housing politics. I'm afraid that I'll have to run to another meeting in a few minutes. So if you have another question, I think I can take one more. But that would be all.
Oh yeah, yes. Maybe let's explore a little bit what we've talked privately so far, Merchant, in the tweet storms, about how specifically to do multi-signatures in Lightning. And I do think that there is one interesting way of doing this with changing the multi-signature script itself. of the opening or of the commitment transaction in the Lightning Network payment channel. So to have both the signature of Alice and Bob and Charlie in in the redeem script, but then also in a 2 out of 3 multi-signature, but then also having the single signature of David in the redeem script for the payment channel commitment transaction.
So that's pretty interesting, but I'm afraid that that is a little difficult, because if I look at the script right now here, as you've shown it, it would. I think that in this case, if you were doing it that way, the channel partner would have to be aware that multi-sig is being used in this channel. And the problem is when multi-hop payments are being crafted, the sender routes the payment completely from start to end. And when they build the onion routed packages that each hop will unpack in order to set up the hash time lock contract for their payment channel, it locks to specific commitment transactions. I think I'm only dabbling in Lightning. I'm not really a Lightning expert. So anyway, I think that the way to go right now would be to make it transparent to the channel partner, so that the channel partner can actually not tell that you're using multi-sig. And in that case, you would have to do key aggregation on your side, as in you have something that appears to the other party as a single sig key, but in realitas is a Shamir shared secret or a threshold signature key that you're so that the key splitting only happens internally in the key without visibility to the channel partner. I think that we're not quite there yet to do ECDSA 2F3 threshold signatures yet. So we actually looked into this for a little while when Alex Bosworth was with BitGo still, and we were looking into how to implement Lightning on top of BitGo. But yeah, it's a little bit of a big chunk to bite at unless you can put it into the protocol directly and make other people aware that you're running a multi-sig channel.
Yes, it is definitely not a easy integration, but I do think it is possible, and there are, I think, different ways of handling it. Either in the payment channel blockchain level itself, right, to change here the redeem script and the witness script of the on-chain funds, and then with every commitment transaction update where you change the state of the multi-sig, you fulfill here the 2 out of 3 signature. That might be one approach to do it. But another thing that I think would be interesting is to work with, for example, macaroons or some other API calls and permissions on top of your node, so that you have one full node that handles a single regular 2 out of 2 multi-sig payment channel, Lightning payment channel as we know it, but where similar to what we have here with the SAP point of sales terminal, where we have a light client that can only do some limited functions like generate invoices and receive payments.
Right. So the interesting thing would be if you were able to do the forwarding with a sign-off of your live key that, I mean, conditionally on you taking a tiny fee and not losing channel balance in total, but just switching out channel balance from one channel to another, which seems pretty safe to me. On the other hand, you would, for your own sends, you would probably want to do the 2 or 3 multi-sig. But yeah, we'll have to continue the conversation offline or at another time. I'm afraid I have to run. I'll catch you later. Thanks for having me join.
Well, Merch, thank you very much here for joining us. It was fantastic to get your insights. Hopefully again soon. And we'll see each other on Twitter and, of course, Stack Exchange and with the Bitcoin OpTech newsletter. Thanks again for all the amazing work that you do. And see you on the next show, Merch.
Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye.
See you later, man.
That was really cool that Merch jumped in here. Nice to get his insights. Nico, how would you maybe approach multi-signatures in Lightning? What are your thoughts on this so far?
Oh, it's just I gotta say I'm humbled whenever a person with the vast knowledge about this kind of subject that I know nearly nothing about is just like makes me want to bury myself in Google for a while and really learn this stuff, because I have no idea like half of the stuff you guys were talking about. I will have to kind of like reveal my ignorance here, but it's also nice to be able to be educated from the source. And unfortunately, I won't be able to offer you much on this. I'm just here to learn myself.
Well, we are all just learning here in this aspect, and especially with Lightning, it's still so reckless. And although having read about it and used it for so long now, it's still such a complex system, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. So yeah, still a bunch of questions that need answering. So Piers, help me out here, because I have no clue how this would work. So of course, the entire paper here is written under the Creative Commons license, open source everything. It just makes sense. So if you are interested in how to make Lightning Network multi-signature payments thing, and then, well, jump in and let's see how this would go, and how we can at least get the ball rolling and explore different ideas and see if it's useful. It might be a very heavy protocol change that really requires changing of the node software itself, maybe an additional bolt for a standard implementation, or it might be quote unquote as easy as having simply a wallet level interface where you dedicate or where you delegate special access rights to several hardware devices in a several two-factor, three-factor authentication manner that would mimic what a multi-signature does on the Bitcoin blockchain, but just enforces it not on the blockchain layer, but on other cryptographic standards like YubiKeys or whatnot. So it would be quite interesting to see how this can be explored with multi-sig in Lightning.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I hope we can make a show about the once I get my Lightning node up and running. I hope you'll join me in testing it and seeing if I can actually make it work as mobile as I'm looking forward to doing.
Oh yes, we still really have many things to explore here, and many more videos to make. So it's not going to be boring. So yeah, Nico, we talked about a lot already. We discussed the Wasabi wallet and all these new updates that are here, all the current cool stuff happening in Lightning, and how this is affecting. Of course, running all that on top of your own full node, right? So the nodal and all this. Maybe one interesting thing that we haven't yet talked about too much, and that really something that we have both explored quite heavily is here, the current deplatforming which is going on with Patreon and other payment processing reliant platforms. So I was here on the Bitcoin and Markets podcast with Ansel and Lindner, the Bitcoin is Freedom podcast actually with Jeff as well. And we talked a little bit about that. And Nico, what do you think about the current deplatforming that is going on different outlets?
Are you talking about Patreon alternatives like Tallycoin?
Well, that is kind of the answer to it. But maybe first, why this is happening and if this is a good or bad thing, the deplatforming itself.
Well, I mean, this is the first time I hear about deplatforming. So can you just run me through it?
So, for example, as there is with Patreon currently, that several content creators are denied to use the platform of Patreon, and their accounts are being delisted and removed, mainly because MasterCard, as the payment processor, has decided to remove all the payment rails for these individuals trying to raise funds here. And now there are several users who speak out and decide to actively boycott Patreon for their use of, quite frankly, censorship. Of course, not voluntarily, but enforced by MasterCard.
Oh yeah, I was talking about the censorship. Okay, now I understand. It was just a weird term. Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic to see that happening, actually. I mean, of course, obviously it sucks for the people who put in hard work and put in their content and get demonetized, or worse, censored altogether and removed from the platform. Obviously, that sucks for them for a while. But if you look at the big picture, I think this is what needs to happen. This is where decentralization and censorship resistance come into play. This is where Bitcoin comes into play. This is what the blockchain is meant for. It's not the lock and chain industry. It's the Bitcoin blockchain. It's immutable. It's uncensorable. It's unconfiscatable, and you cannot stop it. And this is a tool that we can all use. Like I mentioned, Tallycoin is doing an awesome job already, providing alternatives. And yeah, I think once people, there is a wide discontent about this. People have start to get enough. For example, in Europe, there's this Yellow Vest movement, which started from, well, I mean, it kind of started from the oil, the gasoline tax or something like that. But that wasn't really it. It was just everything. It's too much. Like, it's too much censorship, too much control. And I do think this can work as a great segue and a bridge to onboard more people on Bitcoin and more content creators that maybe previously weren't interested in cryptocurrencies at all, or Bitcoin at all. And now they are, because they have to, because maybe they have some deemed by some governmental or centralized bodies unsavory or advertiser not friendly for advertisers type of content, which is of course bullshit. Like, we can't let the advertisers run the show. We are making content for people who want to watch the content, and the advertisers are concerned about their profits. Of course, they're selling these products that may or may not be great for people. The point is that you should not censor people based on your own profits, or you shouldn't censor people on any grounds. And I do think that these big companies like MasterCard and PayPal are about to, and Patreon are about to learn a very, very hard lesson. And I don't think they're going to be able to combat this or bounce back once the ball starts rolling towards Bitcoin, and Bitcoin enabling these new systems and new platforms.
Oh yes, and it's quite interesting to see that this is a technological warfare, right? This is the removal of tools, of technology, of payment methods, and money technology. Here, where MasterCard just deems that some individuals are not worthy of using this technology, which is kind of preposterous in the first place. And then these peers, of course, realizing that this is the entire point of Bitcoin, having censorship-resistant, free speech money. Something that here Gab, the free speech social media network, kind of coined here, which I think is a nice selling point. And of course, Bitcoin here is the answer to this problem. And of course, Tallycoin then specifically here with this. Tallycoin, of course, a kind of child of the World Crypto Network here, where the WCN was the first fundraiser and first user, first contributor, first feedback giver here to DJ Booth, who has himself been here in the WCN several times. It's quite fantastic here to see how you can use fundraisers with Bitcoin, censorship-resistant style, and where nobody can stop you. You can even go so far as to host this yourself with your BTC Pay server. and then have all your super chats and your perks and all the cool thing, of course, with Lightning Network enabled. So Tallycoin simply as a fundraising platform is quite fabulous, showing the power that Bitcoin does have compared to other tools, which can easily be stolen and taken away from you. So what are your experiences so far with Tallycoin?
I love the Tallycoin. I love the idea, and I love how it works. It's quite simple. You just bring your Bitcoin address, and then you start raising money. Pretty much all you want from this kind of thing. And I would say that this is a way better way for projects to raise money than an ICO, for example. The downside, however, of Tallycoin is compared to if you compare it to these shitcoin ICOs, is that the price won't pump. Like you can't do the pump and dump scheming, which does make it in a sense an inferior tool to many. So I don't think that the shit ICOs are quite done yet. I think we're going to see another kind of a rush of those, because people like the kind of like this shitcoin roulette and casino. They want to play, and I do think at this moment it has been like, it might be difficult to accept, but I do think that one of the biggest use cases for Bitcoin has been buying shitcoins and speculating on those. And I do think that this Tallycoin has a shot to bring an actual legit use case, maybe one of the first legit use cases, because certainly merchant adoption is not really going to happen anytime soon. But I do think there's a lot of progressive people in content creation, like streamers and people who are making content every day on YouTube and all these platforms, that are willing to adopt on a rapid scale, especially if there's some good mobile apps. Like you mentioned, all those Lightning apps that are being developed within the last, let's say, half a year. Maybe half a year from now, we will have a total different situation. So this makes me very bullish for Bitcoin, actually.
Yes, absolutely. And here with user interface and with wallets, of course, we already talked about the SAP wallet, which is such a phenomenally user interface friendly wallet. And of course, there's also the Joule browser extension, which is a nice web browser extension which you can connect to your LND node. And it's just fantastic to see how this wallet landscape keeps on improving, and especially the Lightning. This is not a super intuitive, user-friendly, everything behind the GUI, so to say. This is a truly in-depth management platform of your Lightning Network Financial Battle Station node, with in-depth views here on your wallet, your peers, your active channels, and everything. And in-depth channel management. So the Ride the Lightning terminal, as it truly is a fantastic wallet, specifically tailored for the channel and node management. But then there are, of course, on the rather other side here, we have Jack developing the most beautiful and easy and intuitive user interface just for sending and receiving payments. Whereas on the other hand, we have the Ride the Lightning web application for the real in-depth channel management. And just another FYI, all this running, of course, on the Nodl today on mainnet. So it's fantastic. Like the stuff is here, and quite interesting to see how the user interface will evolve. Nico, do you think that the payments will be much more actively managed, as we see here with Ride the Lightning, or will it be a more intuitive and below the hood user interface, such as SAP or the Blue Wallet, maybe, or Satoshi's wallet?
I think it's gotta be something under the hood thing. People don't want to put a whole lot of effort to that. Like we've been developing kind of like this idea of a We Economy app also that would actually, it will use Bitcoin as the underlying money asset, much like the internet uses TCP/IP protocol as the underlying protocol. People don't need to know all the nitty-gritty details on how it actually functions. They just simply want it to work. So I think it needs to go way more under the hood. Of course, I realize it's quite early days now. Maybe in a couple of years we can see something like that, that you could actually just simply buy it, and then it wouldn't matter what the units on top of it is, and underneath there will just be this money protocol that simply works. But of course, we might be ways off, and it is early days. If you just like we had some good words about Wasabi Wallet. While it is probably one of the best user experiences out there, is still far cry from mass adoption. And to my knowledge, so are all these wallet solutions. So definitely a lot of work did, a lot of the work has been done, but there's also a long road ahead. But of course, it's always better to look back and look at the road that we have already traveled. So then that makes the goal look seem much closer.
Oh yes, we've already come so far with this technology in just 10 years. I remember this is really early days, and having tools such as Wasabi, such as the Nautilus, such as Ride the Lightning, only 10 years in, I mean, what have we done so far? It feels like we are just still so early, and still we have so much more work to do. But the amount of work that has been done is also breathtaking. We had here 23 US asking in the chat, and first of all, nice to see you here again, what you need for the Tallycoin site. And yes, you can go as little as only one single individual Bitcoin address that you upload to the Tallycoin website, and you set a funding goal and a time limit. That is as easy as it can be. But if you want to be fancy, then you can load your extended public key to the website. Use a dedicated path, not your master extended public key, but a child of a child of a child that you then clearly label as public donations and payments. So use Wasabi with all the payments that go on this public key. And then it generates new addresses for you automatically, which is quite nice. But then it also has something that is called the BIP57 paynim, which is a private reusable payment code, which you can use with Samurai Wallet currently. And this is my personal paynim code. So you would scan this code and then generate a address that belongs to me, but you would calculate this on your own phone. So not even Tallycoin, the website, will know if you make a payment to me, as this is maximally private. But then for the Lightning integration, it works with OpenNode. So this is here a custodial Lightning wallet, as I said earlier, and it is a super intuitive login email, password, two-factor authentication, of course, and then you simply copy a API key to the Tallycoin interface. So it is a super easy, super intuitive setup, and of course your keys, your Bitcoin, as it should be. So again, here custodial solutions might make sense. So Nico, what do you think about the usability of Tallycoin? Are we there yet?
It's pretty good. Of course, it can always be better, and it has improved quite a bit. And there's new features like the Patreon kind of feature, and also the signing in, that you can sign in with your Twitter and stuff. Yeah, it's getting better all the time, and DJ Booth has been doing an awesome job. I guess he's been pretty much working on that all by himself. So really kudos for building this project. And of course, it's still a fringe thing, but it might take off, and I wouldn't mind seeing actually alternatives also for this. And I'm not sure if does it support Lightning payments yet?
Oh yes, absolutely. Lightning payments are supported here by Tallycoin. Again, only custodial so far, but working on direct integration with your own node as well. And also advancing the Lightning protocol itself. Because of course, one huge plus for Patreon is recurring subscription payments, so that you pay every month only 50,000 Satoshis. Okay, so these are, especially from a cash flow side, payments that you do on a regular basis, but hopefully automatically, with less friction, so that it might be recurring and you just don't need to bother with it. And it's quite tricky to do that with Lightning on the protocol layer. To have recurring invoice communication completely automatically. So that might take a little longer to integrate that on Lightning here on the protocol level. But what Tallycoin can do is simply send your patrons emails and Twitter direct messages, urging them or telling them, hey, these are the current models that you can support if you want to continue having the unique access and perks that you get from donating, from being a Tallycoin supporter. Here is the most recent edition. Here is a special shout out. Here's a special Q&A session or whatsoever. The communication with the patrons can be handled on Twitter, on email, and then you simply always generate a new invoice in specifically for this email, for this Twitter DM, that can then easily be opened by your wallet, by Zap, by Jewel, or some other easy to use wallet. So quite interesting to see how subscriptions can be handled here with Lightning payments.
Have you experimented with the subscriptions yourself? Do you use them?
Well, I personally don't have a credit card, and so I can't use Patreon. And I don't use any of these traditional subscription things. I don't like them too much because it gives you kind of this ongoing financial burden, and it kind of ties you down in that aspect. But on the other hand, exactly, right. And just regular monthly to-dos that bother you in your cash flow, which is not optimal. But then on the other hand, I do like this model of dedicating a direct payment, a donation, a patron style. And I do believe that for donations, a subscription payment does make quite a lot of sense. And then I like to combine that with special, unique perks and thank you notes, so to say, that I like to give my patrons personally, like early access to these videos, but not necessarily a must, right? And having all that communicated nicely in this good user interface of Tallycoin is a nice trade-off. But I do believe that just having messages and good communication is most of the work, and then just doing the Lightning Network payment is easy, super easy. I think I lost you there. So are you there?
I'm still here, but yeah, I actually have to get going soon. So maybe are you going to sit here for a while, or I don't think we're gonna get any more people jumping in.
Yeah, unfortunately, nobody called in other than you and Merch, but still was a nice conversation, nice call-in show.
Yeah, it always is.
Yeah, good, right? And yeah, we did cover quite a lot of ground. So maybe as a recap, of course, the Wasabi wallet, unequal input mixing, which is quite phenomenal, and which makes all the videos from 402 Payment and Me obsolete in a extremely fast fashion. So now you can clean large amount of Bitcoins much faster, much cheaper, which is nice. And we talked a little bit about what was happening here in Lightning in the last couple of days, with all the amazing things coming to L&D. And of course, then here also in the later part about the deplatforming and censorship, and why Tallycoin here as a donation platform is so interesting. The conversation here I had with Ansel Lindner and Jeff from Bitcoin is Freedom. And also about my interview here with Juan Gold about the Nodl and what a dedicated hardware wallet, hardware device for your Lightning node can do for you, and how it can easily be integrated with SAP. Of course, you're running this beautiful, beautiful point of sale system, which is just lovely. So fantastic work here. But also some other interesting projects like Blue Wallet that really help in the user interface, or something like OpenNode, which are custodial, which you can use for Lightning Network, but of course, which are not optimal. And then we've also briefly introduced here the Lightning Network Multi-sig research paper that I'm starting for my bachelor thesis here of economics and banking. Of course it's Bitcoin, of course it's Lightning. Multi-sig is super important. It's such a useful smart contract that you can use for a lot of different stuff. I mean, here BitGo is one of the prime examples, a company built up on top of multi-sig. And of course, Merge, who joined us here working for BitGo, also understands the importance of multi-sig in Bitcoin. And he's also been tinkering around on how we can implement this here on top of Lightning. So let's discuss different ideas here over the next couple months, and let's see where this leads and how we can make this happen. So yeah, we covered quite a lot in this short amount of time. So Nico, anything else that you would like to show other than the phenomenal Honeybadger shop, which will hopefully soon get an overhaul?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for showing that. Although I feel a little bit embarrassed because it doesn't even have Bitcoin payments and it has PayPal and stuff there. And it's quite unfinished, but I'll try to be better and I'll work on that. And yeah, definitely check the Consensus Network channel and check my Starfish and Spider organization lecture, which I'm pretty proud of. And follow me on Twitter if you like my stuff. I'll try to be more active there as well. And as you can see, I'm wielding the self defense tool there, and the spider organizations they have their limitations, and they can't stand against the Starfish organizations. So if you like that kind of stuff, and if you want to know how to save the millennials from sure unemployment in the future, I have a few words on that. So and it looks like wild mad Bitcoins has appeared. How you doing, Thomas?
Hey, how's it going, Max and Nico?
Good to see you.
I just saw you guys in the chat. I knew you're getting to the end of the show, so I wanted to pop in and say hello. You guys were talking about Tally Coin and how great it is. I wanted to mention Dan, the Crypto Raptor, has a Tally Coin. We're trying to get Dan out to Las Vegas. It's going really well. As you can see with Tally Coin, you just bring your own Bitcoin address and raise money for whatever you want to raise money for. It's really cool. It gives you a thermometer, a little counter of who's donated so far. And like you guys said, we turned, or Dan turned Lightning on his Tally Coin. Down here you can see we've had a lot of anonymous Lightning donations recently. So it's very cool. It's a good way to try out the Lightning Network and a good way to reward people who make stuff. So good stuff. Wanted to show you that. And then also we've got my Tally Coin to compete in the poker tournament at Tonevase's poker tournament, which hasn't received any donations. So you can have a successful Tally Coin and you can have an unsuccessful Tally Coin. And I think it's just fun to try to raise money in Bitcoin and try to show how it's amazing and you can send money from all over the place and what a great technology it is. Did we lose Max?
Oh no, absolutely. I'm still here. Cool thing is also I got my mic working. So no longer do I need to struggle around here with the microphone settings. So that's nice. But yeah, Tallycoin is fantastic. Of course, huge shout out to Crypto Raptor. Hopefully we can get him to Vegas. It will be nice to see you there covering that conference. I'm sure a bunch of cool people are going to be there, a bunch of interesting fellows for sure as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to try to talk to Max Kaiser and your favorite guy, Safedine Amos. I don't know. Hopefully I'll say his name right by then.
Will you finally meet your true father?
That's true. Darth Kaiser. You're not my father. I'll never join you, Max. It's going to be fun. But yeah, I'll get to see Max and Tone, hopefully Jimmy. The rest of the crew should be at Tonevase's Unconfiscatable Conference. It's about the 24th, I think, of January here in Las Vegas. So about 10 days. So very cool. Having lots of delays today. I've been learning German in Duolingo, Max.
Oh, fantastic. I saw that in the chat.
Das ist gut.
Sehr gut. Fantastisch sogar. Weiter so, mein junger
It's
Schüler.
funny. You think you're doing so well in the app. You're clicking on all this stuff. and then you actually try to like think a thought, and you have no words. Like,
It's blinking.
I have 5 words.
Yeah. Well,
Guys, I wanna. Sorry.
go ahead.
I wanted to share. I wanted to share a funny tweet I just read because we were talking earlier about me upgrading my OpSec and getting rid of my phone, and actually this fits perfectly. It's from Alexander J.A. Cortez, which is one of the best tweeters out there in my opinion. You should definitely check out. He always has good stuff. 2009, you had individual ringtones for all your friends, and you get excited when your crush called you. 2019, you haven't answered a call since 2014, and the phone rings and it triggers a panic attack. So that's pretty much what happened to me. Like I've had my phone on mute for like 2 years at least, and at first it was on vibrate, but then the vibration sound triggered my panic attack, so I had to put it on airplane mode. Not airplane mode, but do not disturb mode, so I don't actually get any calls through. And then I finally gave it up a month ago, and I don't think I'm ever going to get it back, because it just takes away so much from your life nowadays.
There is a lot that comes with your phone. It's pretty tough. I know a lot of people are addicted to their phones, probably me, and you use it all the time and that kind of thing. We are hearing breaking news that Constantinople hard fork is being delayed. Looks like these are all old articles from the previous delayed. I'm not sure we have a new article about the current delay, but people are saying in the chat, Constantinople hard fork has been delayed, allegedly. So.
Well, and isn't that just such a prophetic sign? I mean, first of all, the Constantinople hard fork just entails a cabal-like dictate that changes the money supply and the issuance rate, which then is a change in the inflation schedule with all the bad connotation that comes here. So basically here they are trying to do central banking and change the money supply according to their own whim and dictate, which works out tremendously, as we have seen with all the fiat currencies. And let's see if they can save the busting currency Ethereum with decreasing the inflation rate and propping up the price in that way. But of course, that means that many miners and everything are hugely at a loss here. And that is absolutely not nice of the Ethereum cabal of developers who are in control of the Ethereum money supply, of course. So yeah, it's a shit show. It's a shit coin. But yeah, shitcoin's gonna shitcoin, I guess.
And we are seeing multiple confirmations of this. There's an article on CoinDesk that was just released. Constantinople upgrade faces delay due to security vulnerability. We were also seeing this all over Twitter. People were talking about the abundance of caution and how great it is. The hard fork is being postponed. Once again postponed. So
such governance. Fantastic.
Well, it's, too bad we don't have a Vitalik just like a Satoshi. They're saying, is the market dumping? Let's see. It still looks like $123 for an Ether. That's down 4.5%, which is a correction. It's not a full dump. Looking at the price, see if we can get something a little. Oh, actually, look at that. That's a little harsh. It looks like people had likely bought Ethereum thinking that this upgrade would actually come out, and then right now they found out that upgrade is not coming out. That's a little harsh. And they're selling. That's weird. My computer came back on there. So, but yeah, Max, not good for Vitalik and Ethereum. Meanwhile, in national and international news, the UK Parliament has rejected Theresa May's Brexit deal in a pivotal vote. So that might be going back to a referendum, or they might just go ahead with no deal.
Yeah, here Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum, right? Is Ethereum, and what definitely such a Constantinople hard fork thing does is that it introduces uncertainty. Right? It makes you as a holder of the currency less certain of how many units are going to be there tomorrow. If a centralized cabal of individuals can simply come and change it under you and change the issuance inflation schedule here of Ether. So this is, in my opinion, although the supply will slow in its increase, so that is a potential increase of the price, at least a tendency towards that. But because you introduce so much additional uncertainty, I would wager that the price of Ether would, rightfully so, further would decrease, unless, of course, the hype cycle now starts all over again, and it just shows that the governance of Ether is so good and much wow, and that it's to the moon, and its crypto prices, what the hell, I don't know.
But it just goes to show that Ethereum and shitcoins are not going anywhere. I see a trading opportunity there. A lot of money was made on that dump. You can count on that, and these are huge game theoretical situations, these forks, and probably some inside trading happens there as well. And that's also one reason why these are not going to go away. These are money-making opportunities for so many people. And like I said before, one of the biggest use cases for Bitcoin, maybe the biggest use case for Bitcoin for the general population, is the shitcoin roulette. And you can hate it or you can like it and you can accept it, but that's what it's going to be. And I'm pretty firmly tapped into the cryptocurrency scene and the lock and chain side of it as well, and the shit ICO side of it. And once there starts to be this kind of buzz and this hype, I do think that it's going to be good for Bitcoin, because people are going to need to first buy Bitcoin and then buy their shit coins. And it is a legit use case. Well, I mean, legit, it's debatable, but it will, in the long term, it will bring people in the scene. It will bring these Lambo people into the scene, and some of them will become hodlers of last resort for Bitcoin once they realize that what the game is really about. So I find it quite bullish for Bitcoin, actually. Shitcoins benefit Bitcoin.
Well, I hope it happens again this time. We are seeing some people like the heroic Brian Armstrong making it possible for you to buy shitcoins directly with USD. So it is possible a lot of people will skip that step next time, but they might still hear about Bitcoin. They might still think about it. And eventually, if their altcoins crash, they might come running back to Bitcoin. So. But I think we're headed towards the end of this show. Max, I'm not sure where you're taking us. I just wanted to pop in for the end here, say hello, say you guys are doing a good job. It's been interesting stuff about the Lightning Network and talking about multi-signature. I also wanted to highlight a tweet I put together. 4 years ago today, I went to the Miami Bitcoin conference. It was a pretty neat thing. It's a big, flashy Miami party type thing. I put on some things, and just remember, others rented beach houses and went out of business. Mad Bitcoin shared a hotel room and stayed on budget. And there was this thing at the time called Paycoin. They had sponsored the conference. They had 3 booths. They had Paycoin lending. They had Paycoin Paybase. They had Paycoin miners, all kinds of things. It was the biggest thing. They said they had a floor that the coin would never go below $20. And of course it did. And Paycoin doesn't exist at all today. So it's not impossible for these altcoins to go up and to go down, and for them to have lots of marketing money and then to not be anything at all. Check it out. I also interviewed some people. I got the links here on Mad Bitcoin's Twitter, and a nice little support Mad Bitcoins in the World Crypto Network tweet here at the end. And I coined us another slogan: "We make Bitcoin history." So I thought that was fun. But that's what I've been up to. Go ahead, Max. Back to you.
Well, yeah, let's wrap this up. We've talked about so much already here. This was a rather long show, and we did get a lot of stuff covered. Again, thanks for being active in the chat. Thanks for Nico calling in. Thanks for Merge calling in. That was a nice surprise here, and of course Thomas to finish it up. So, Nico, do you have any last words before we go off?
No, except every day we can always do better. Improve your OpSec. Maybe if you don't want to get rid of your smartphone just right now, consider maybe limiting the data that you're giving out, Google services and stuff like that. Facebook, if you're still in there, consider getting out. let's hold each other to higher standards and try to be better every day. That's my final words.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, and Thomas, anything new from you? What are your last words, and what is coming from your side?
Same old thing, just hoping everyone gives us a like and a share. Be sure to subscribe down below. Donate, maybe $5-10 to one of these tally coins here would be great. Remember, you can have your Bitcoin in cold storage and never touch it and don't use it. But you should have maybe a couple $100 in a hot wallet or a phone wallet, something where you can donate to an event like this. So, you can give somebody 10 or 20 bucks. It doesn't have to be the end of the world, but donate, support Crypto Raptor. We're going to be live in Las Vegas very soon. Cool stuff.
Oh yes, absolutely, and support this entire ecosystem, right? It's us, like we are it, and we need to stick together. So do whatever you can to make your part in Bitcoin growing and Bitcoin becoming this true sound money, usable by anyone, and that includes, of course, speaking up and educating others, or supporting those that do this education, like we here at the WCN Consensus Network, but also, of course, teaching it yourself and applying this technology. So check out Wasabi, check out Lightning. Make sure that you're running your own full node, and of course check out the Nodl, which is fantastic. Yes, I'm also really interested in here what can come out here of my bachelor's studies on how to do multi-signature and Lightning Network, because this thread here specifically that I link here in my pinned tweet is phenomenal. We have Merch chiming in, Stefan Butko. We have also Nickler, who was a big part of the Lightning Network and sidechains in general here, Blockstream developer. All chiming in, and quite some good discussion already. This is a compelling topic, and I'm curious to see where this rabbit hole leads and how we can make Lightning multi-signatures happening with lightning speeds and ridiculously low fees in the reckless fashion as it should be. So if you like that, throw a couple Satoshis on the Lightning Network. Here again, Tallycoin is phenomenal. So if you're a Lightning Network reckless user, you can throw a couple Satoshis basically for free here. That will be fantastic and very much appreciated. Piers, it's been as always a pleasure talking to you all. And I would say see you all on the next show. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.